want to get the basic. You want to get produce. You want to get the market. You want to know the guys that work here that did it for a living. You know what I'm saying? This is their living. They work through the winter months. They work through the summer months. They work through the rain, the snow. We work through all kinds of weather here, just to help the people. You know, we're here to help the people, actually, because they have to eat.
When it began, I wasn't alive then. And I flunked history in England. You expect me to know history in America? I have heard that it started about 300 years ago. Now, I came in on the scene 50 years ago. Oh God, I'm getting old.
When it began, I don't know. I wasn't even around when it began. I just followed my father's roots, you know.
When did Haymarket start is a great question. No one knows the answer to it. I don't know if anyone ever will know the answer to it, because it's not something that was planned. We can't go to the city council minutes and say, okay, on such and such a date, the city council said, or the Board of Selectmen said, or John Winthrop said, or James Michael Curley said, hey, let's open a Haymarket. It seems to be something that people just did.
To me, it began when I went down there as a child at 8 years old. But, you know, at the turn of the century, it was there. It was there when the horses were coming in and dropping the product off from the farms. Those were horses that were bringing the product in. They weren't these huge 18-wheelers. They were horses coming to Faneuil Hall. When Faneuil Hall disappeared, I thought it was the end of it all. But that really wasn't. Things changed. Faneuil Hall became the Faneuil Hall that you know of today, which is basically relatively commercial.
Well, according to the book that I've read, is written by Snyder, it started with a Mr. Blackstone who allowed for people to come to the market in the late 1700s, early 1800s, and they got to sell their goods there, their hay or whatever it may be, farmers' products. And so if that's actually true, you're talking about a market that's been over 200 years in place. I tell people we're the oldest active market open year-round in the whole country.
The Blackstone block, which adjoins Haymarket, is actually the only remaining block in the city of Boston that has its 17th century streetscape and street footprints. The buildings are all 19th century, but they were built replacing 18th century, or in some cases 17th century buildings. And so you walk through these narrow alleyways, and you're actually in what would have been a street. And it's also on Creek Square, which was actually the initial real marketplace in Boston, where the creek emptied the mill pond into Boston Harbor. And the name itself comes from William Blackstone, who was the first European settler in Boston. He was a minister of the Church of England, had come here with an expedition in the 1620s that fell apart. And he didn't want to go back to the Church of England. The Blackstone block here in Boston continues to commemorate his arrival and his departure.
A lot of people just think that the market just magically appears. You try to get all of the Blackstone Street vendors in first. And then, as the day progresses, Thursday night into Friday, you get the other vendors coming in. And then everybody's all set up, and we're ready to go Friday morning.
Initially, Boston had a Haymarket that was in what then was the South End. It actually was near the foot of Boston Common, between Boston Common and the Liberty Tree in that area. The Puritans had a market for selling hay that would be brought in from out of town or raised in the marshes around Boston. And hay was important for feeding horses, feeding cattle, particularly in the winter, also initially for thatching roofs of houses. So all towns needed a place where you could get hay. Actually, there was a plan to redo the city. Charles Bulfinch, architect, city planner, also chairman of the Board of Selectmen, had an idea for the area where that Haymarket was to become upscale housing. The Colonnade Row that was along the foot of the Common, along Tremont Street. Now, having this upscale housing in the same place where there was this old Haymarket wouldn't work. At the same time, we're envisioning putting in the Bulfinch Triangle, filling in the mill pond to create an industrial area, which would be kind of a buffer between the North End and the West End, but also part of this changing economy. The Middlesex Canal would come out along Canal Street at the center of the Bulfinch Triangle, and at the very apex of the triangle would be the new Haymarket. Haymarket Square itself, then, was a big open area for a very busy industrial city. So it really was kind of different from other urban spaces of the time. Then in the end, the produce market, central produce market, also moves to this area.
World War II, women were housewives previous to World War II, and all their husbands and boyfriends get drafted in the army or the services wherever. And there's a shortage of help. And I was walking through here, the Market District, and 12 years old, 11 years old, whatever I was. And, hi kid, what are you doing? Nothing, just looking around. Here, 16 ounces in a pound, 12 in a dozen, brown paper bag, and I went to work for 50 cents a day, a quarter a day, $1 a day. They put me to work. And before you know it, I was here for 60 years, getting $18 a week after the war, $15 a week. That's for 70 hours. If they had the same rules applied, then they would all went to jail. Child abuse, manpower abuse, whatever. When I say child abuse, I mean working.
So you're working a full 40, 50 hours in 2 days, almost 2.5 days. And a lot of people don't realize, what do you do the rest of the week? Well, I try to get up for the rest of the week. No, it's hard. It's not simple. And if you don't know what you're doing, you could lose a lot of money. It's gambling. It really is. You gamble with produce, and you got to make profit. You're not selling sunglasses. You're not selling T-shirts. It's not stuff that's going to save. It's stuff that you have to sell.
I came from Cambodian. I born in Battambang, and I came here since I was 2, and I came from Cambodian to Connecticut, Hartford. So it's hard for us when we came, the hot weather, and we come to the snow like to our knees. And then my mom and my dad decided to come to Boston, and I started work with Otto when I was I think 18. I worked 1 day a week with him, and then I started working with him like a couple years, 5 years. So I tried to open my own stand at the alley, and it's not working good. So I want to own one. So I tried, but it doesn't work out. So then I stopped work. I stopped for a couple years. Then when I came back to shop, Haymarket again. So then Roy found out that he needs help. So I said, okay, of course, 2 days a week I tried. So I like it. I worked there for 5 years, 6 years. So right now I'm off myself. If I make it, I make it. If I don't.
I had this bad habit when I come home after work, I take out all my small change, throw it in a container. When that was full, keep starting. And one day friends were at my house and they opened a cupboard, all this change fell out. And they said, "You're nuts." And they helped me count and roll $941. And I had 200 in quarters. And I knew Otto, I would always go to him to purchase my things. And I asked him, "Would you like some quarters?" He said, "How many have you got?" I said, $200 worth. He said, "I don't need that many. Try so-and-so and so-and-so." And now there's about 10 people that I take quarters to. And I've been doing that for about 10 years. So they call me the change lady.
Now, Avril, I've known, I don't even know how many years, probably 7 or 8 years. She became a friend. And before you know it, she's bringing down quarters, and everybody's not getting quarters from her. But, she's also helped us in other ways. She's writing letters for us. She goes to the post office for us every week. Now, yesterday, I don't know, it was like 20 degrees out. It was freezing out. She said, "Otto, give me the keys. I'll go to the post office box for you." What more can you say? And, she's just a wonderful person.
One time when I was taking quarters, and I get the quarters earlier in the week, and that I like to be down there between 8 and 8:15, and I'm hurrying through the north end. Oh my God, I'm late. And I got there, where is everybody? And that's when I realized it was Thursday, it wasn't Friday. I was so ticked off. Those things are so heavy. I have about 30 rolls of quarters at a time. And I'm staggering along with them. And I had to take them all home and try again the next day.
Well, I get up around 4:45, and I get into work. By the time I get there, it's about 6 to 6:30. And I take a look at all the orders that have come in over the phone and so forth, and I make sure I have all the product in the store. Whatever I don't have, I order. We pick it up in the local wholesale market here. So I have that ordered pretty much before the day even starts. My guys get in about 7 o'clock. Then somebody goes to pick that up. And we start setting up the displays and everything for retail while that driver is picking up the other stuff. And then we package it and get it all ready. And we wait for customers.
I had a lot of customers, a lot of nice people come over, you know. And they used to call me Polly Peppers because I used to sell peppers a lot. And they used to call me Pee-Pee. Polly Pepper, Pee-Pee, you know. And that was kind of funny. I mean, you know, people come by, hi Pee-Pee, how are you? All right. You know, that was kind of cool, you know what I mean? That was funny. But, you know, they were nice people. The vendors are all nice, you know. You know, it was a family deal, you know what I mean?
But my favorite season is still in the summertime because that's the busiest time. I get to see a whole lot more people. I have some people that just don't come out in the winter, and I miss them. So I have a lot of customers that come out, and it's busy. There's a lot of barbecues going on. It's more fun when it's busy. Plus the weather's warm. You just feel better.
Seasons, it don't matter because we got stuff from all over the world. When I was a lot younger, we had seasonal stuff coming in. You know, it used to go to California and Florida and Massachusetts, you know, and now we got stuff from Chile, South Africa, Hawaii, you know, from all over the world. We got stuff from Brazil, from Argentina. It's not like years ago. So sometimes you can have the same produce all year long instead of a seasonal produce. You know what I'm saying?
In my type of business, the winter is the better months for me. Not that I'm looking for the extreme cold, but in the summertime, I sell cheese and basically it melts in the summertime. My biggest business is around September. The kids go back to school, the weather gets a little cooler, and then the holidays are coming around, and you know, that's when my biggest business is.
I'm a warm-blooded person. I like the summers. I like the spring. I've always said the best month for us is May. Right now we're in November, and this is one of the best weeks for us because it's the week before Thanksgiving.
Oh, back around 1960, I was living in Brookline, and I had 3 Swedish roommates. And on Fridays after work, we'd come down here to stock up the refrigerator. And one time around Thanksgiving, we got this big 25-pound turkey. And we took turns having it on our lap on the subway because the thing was frozen. Okay, my legs are frozen, your turn.
We had bad days. Sometimes we couldn't work. You know, we just couldn't, it was too cold, you know. Winter time is kind of tough. You have to pick your days, you know what I mean? We had heaters, and at that time I don't even think we had heaters at that time. I don't even think we had heaters, but, you know, we did what we had to do, and that was it.
People came out. They actually came out in the blizzard of '78.
Back then, you worked out there, and your only heating was, in the winter months, was these big, huge barrels, which were filled with the wood where the product was coming in, and they would light the fire at the back of the stand and whatnot. And back then, if it got to be too cold and the product started to freeze, the city of Boston would shut you down.
People that get into this business have to know what they're doing.
The shoppers, the vendors, the developers, the people who make decisions at City Hall and the other departments who are in charge of regulating and managing the market. They're all in agreement that Haymarket's important. No one group says that we need to get rid of it, but they have different ideas about what the it is that Haymarket is.
For many, shopping at Haymarket is not going to be that much different from the kinds of marketplaces they would have had back home. It's one of the things that also makes it distinct is Haymarket itself has taken on the characteristics of the different people who have come to work there, to shop there, but also maintains its own characteristic as a distinctly Boston place. All different people can come together and do one of the most fundamental things, which is buy food.
And then there's the people who are making decisions about the market. So you have people at the city who value Haymarket for its tradition, and they know that it's an important place in the city to support and maintain because it's so valuable for all of these different reasons. Tourists really see it as sort of emblematic of the real Boston, because I think some of those shoppers also feel like Haymarket's the real Boston. So it's not that only tourists see it this way, but there's also this question about those of us who are newcomers to the city and how we see it and to what extent we're tourists also. There's a lot of discussion, for example, about the accents. There's the idea that this is a place that feels like a foreign country. It feels like the old world. There's a browsing route and a actually buying route, and then there's a pass-through route. And those three things, the buying route is closest to the vendors, the browsing route is behind that, and the walking through is behind that. And that's important for traffic because those things move at different speeds. There's the idea that that Haymarket vendors are rude and that they yell, but people who shop there regularly and have learned to befriend the vendors, or at least go there regularly, understand that that's because there are lots of people who don't follow the rules, and it moves very fast, and they're on their feet for a really, really, really long time every day. And so being polite gets you far. Shopping with ones gets you far because you're eliminating some of that friction at the market. I talk to people who say, I bring $20 in ones every week. That's all I can spend. That's what I bring. So planning ahead is a third thing. You want to know what you need to get because it's way too overwhelming to sort of design a meal in your head as you go. Some of the shoppers who I talk to and their ability to assess the market and keep in their mind sort of where the avocados looked best and were the cheapest, and so they would do these sort of sweeps around the market, again using that browsing lane. They would move around the market and then get a sense of who they wanted to buy their vegetables or fruit from. And sometimes it's because they go to a certain guy every week and they know that this guy has XYZ that they want to buy. But sometimes it's because there was a good deal or because something looked especially good. No touching. So that's another thing that people always get sort of worked up about is like, they're going to cheat me out of my produce if I don't get to touch my own produce. Everyone talks about yelling and rudeness at the market. Conflict is part of the culture at the market. And it goes with this idea of expedience and this idea of directness. I think that is important to note, and not that it's just conflict comes when you don't follow the rules or conflict is an aberration from the rules. I don't think that's what it is. I think that it's an important part of that place and the way people interact there that is sort of part of the price of doing business.
When I grew up coming here, it was a few Irish, a few Jewish, and then I wind up like 90% Italian. And then in the last 10, 15 years now, it's changed into a different culture. You got Spanish, you got Moroccan, you got Mexican, it's changing now with with the times, or whatever you want to call it.
It's changed. At that time, the Italians had big families. They used to buy more food. They're all gone. And they're big on this stuff, what they call Mediterranean food. They like vegetables, fresh fruit and vegetables, And they were big at that. They had big families, and they used to do good shopping. Now they're all out of here from the North End. They have these other people coming down. I mean, they're looking for bargains and deals and stuff like that, But they don't buy as much as the Italians used to buy.
Me, I'm from Egypt. My wife from Morocco.
I'm from Mexico, Guadalajara, Jalisco.
Well, the beauty about this place here, and that's a big difference between back home in Lebanon, my country, and here, is you see everybody from all around the world. And I think this is one of the unique places where you meet people from all the world. So many people I meet them and they told me about their country. I never heard about it before, like Cape Verde. I never heard of this country because my store was specialty is in halal meat business. It's directed to the Muslim people. So majority of my customers, they were Muslim. And I was having Muslim from China, from Japan, from Uzbekistan,
Afghanistan, you name it. Country I never heard about it.
It's been changing since when I first started for my dad. There was a tremendous influx of Irish and Italians that were coming into Boston at the time. So they were the predominant families. Consequently, the product line that we carried would be catered to them, things that they liked in their diet. We had pork and hams and roast beef, and they were big families at that time. So, people wanted big 10-pound roasts, steaks, big stews, hamburger, all that stuff, pork chops, chicken, all that stuff. And consequently, things that have changed as the history in the United States has changed, and specifically in Boston. We had the war in Vietnam, and then after that there was an influx of Vietnamese that came here, and Cambodians and Laotians, and then there's Nigerians, and now from the Mideast we have a lot of Arabs. So the demographics is constantly changing, and our product list had to change accordingly. This is part of the diet that they had in their country, so now they come here looking for it, and we try to accommodate them.
You found a venue whereby people who were immigrants, back then it was mostly Italian-American, would be able to shop for their large families. That has evolved as well, where now it's multicultural. You go down there today, there are vendors there from Cambodia. You have vendors there from Saudi Arabia. You have vendors there from Italy. It's like the United Nations. They're from all over the world. And the product that they're getting is from all over the world.
The demographics of the shoppers has changed. Interest in, for example, cilantro or chayote melon or jicama or some of these other things that are really great to find at the market now and are often really fresh and really gorgeous looking. That is something that comes not only from maybe the vendors having different priorities or having different competencies with vegetables, but also with the shoppers.
In the early 70s, I guess we had a little problem here with this, the mayor, the city councils or whatever happened, and with all the building and construction around this area that they were trying to move us around.
The association that came later, there was no association. Sometimes men try to organize, this space is yours, this space is yours. They had different rules at different years.
We had a pushcart association, and all the guys that I worked with are all like family.
Over the years, starting down there at 8, 9, or 10 years old, I was just one of the kids. In my early 20s, when I graduated from BU, I started looking at the possibility of running for public office. So a lot of us got involved politically, and I ended up running for public office and getting elected. In the 70s, after I got elected, I thought it was important to create the association. So I organized and used my staff at the State House to organize the Haymarket Pushcart Association. So we had some bylaws, we made it nonprofit. I was their first president for 1 year and 1 year only. I said I would not serve more than 1 year. We elected members from the 3 streets, Blackstone Street, Hanover Street, and North Street. The very next year, we selected Joe Matara, who stayed for many, many years. And the reason these guys stay for so long is nobody else wants the job, because it's always work without compensation. And then until we just got Otto. And each of them, both Joe Matara and Otto, are dedicated to the preservation of the market.
The big dig actually didn't affect us. I mean, they were giving us 2 days off on the weekend where they didn't work at all, so we could do our own business. But they didn't have any effect on us at all. We went along as normal. You know what I mean? They didn't work for the days that we were down there. So that wasn't too much of a problem.
There was an outcry about the demolition of the West End, about the demolition of Scully Square, but no one seemed to mind the obliteration of Haymarket. The train station was torn down in the 1920s to make way for, North Station replaced it, and the Bullfinch Triangle itself was bisected by I-93, cutting off the north end from the west end, and then the west end itself was demolished, but Haymarket survived as new immigrants came in. And so it survived all of these attempts, and for years it was in the shadow of 93. So who else is going to be interested in this little parcel of land that's essentially an exit ramp or an entrance ramp to 93.
93, that's the year that I bought, the Haymarket Pizza. It was a disaster. There was a big mess around here. No one knew what was going to happen. They were going to disrupt the whole area for 10, or more years, which they did. But, they were good. They let the market open Fridays and Saturdays. They were very good to us. They had a liaison. We got the business. When they closed the street, they try to tell us. They try to get the people in and out. But it was an unsettling area. And, it was tough. It was tough getting from 93 and past the Big Dig. But, it did beautify the area. The expressway's down. There's a better view. It looks beautiful. It brings a lot more people around. It alleviated a lot of traffic in some ways.
When my father was running the store, he had to endure while they were building the central artery. They built it up and they put the overhead expressway in. And then during my tenure, I had to survive while they tore it back down again. So 40 years later, we've wasted about 20 years of construction and deconstruction, and we're back to where we started. It's much nicer now. I like the change. It's just, like I say, it's an imposition, and you just have to deal with it.
Everybody calls me the optimist, and maybe because that's just my personality. I want this place to be good. I want this place to survive. And every city in every country has a market like ours, but none's as good as ours.
I worry about the future of Haymarket because the city is changing.
Way back, at that time, there was no highways. They had, it was a little different view there. Now they're going to put a hotel with a highway right next to the highway. They're going to put another hotel there. How that's going to affect the street, I don't know.
Until it actually happens. Right now, I know what I do every week. I know how to set up my stand on a crack on the sidewalk. I know where my push cart is. I know where it is in the back stand. Once that happens with the new layout, it's all brand new.
For me, they open another market, it not affect us at all because they're all high ends and all number one. But for us, I don't mind because no matter what, it still comes and go. Because customer always come here. This is a historic land, so people always come shop here generation to generation. We are the bargain, so no matter what.
It has always survived. We've always been concerned with what they're going to develop in the area. I'm very concerned with the hotel. That's a market district. We did not support the development of a hotel. How that became a reality is beyond my comprehension. We had the state senator, the state rep, city councilor, all in support of an additional expansion of the market into that site. Not the existing market, but a different kind of market with developers. And that didn't happen. The sad part about that is that they were willing to spend $4 or $5 million of public money to do something to promote this, and they never spend 25 cents to promote that street and fix that street.
I think the future of Haymarket, if they keep going the same way, the way it is, it will disappear. It will be very hard to survive as a business-wise, unless something to be done by the government or by the state or by the city to this place to save the history and the interest of the people to keep coming to this place.
The community would really suffer without it. If you've listened to what I've said, you realize that it's predominantly a whole migratory pattern of immigrants that have come here. But they might have been immigrants when they got here, but they've stayed here for 20 or 30 years. But the fact is, when they first get here, they don't have a whole lot of money. They probably don't have a job. We cater to that need, and that you can buy a lot of stuff, feed your family for very little money. And that's been the key to Haymarket. If that disappears, these people will have a hard time surviving.
That's why I buy the stand, because very soon when my children's grown up, I want to have them here, because that's the weekends, this is like extra work, extra money. So this you can do, they can go on to the school and come and do this on the weekends. That's why I'm trying to to stay here, keep going to the time the kids grown up.
If we lose the market, we lose part of the city's character. We become more of a recreation of something that once was here, something that's only accessible to those who have a large fortune. So that's what we lose if we lose Haymarket. We lose part of Boston's identity and Boston's life.
It's all things I really don't have a crystal ball for. Again, I'm an optimist. I always want things to work. So one way or another, I'm gonna push to see that, or try to make it work.